you wearing a purple shirt or dress to match your K-State background? Is that what that is?
It doesn't match. It's a wrong color purple. But yes, I elected to wear some purple today. I am very pale right now. I have not got a spray tan since before I went to Vegas. So I used some extra bronzer. And now I am electing to wear a color that doesn't make me look yellow.
I can't find my Kelly and Murray mug. So you know how I pretend to sip water and just to like gratuitously show it all the time?
So we don't even sell those anymore?
Yeah, so
maybe it's with my SuperBook hoodie and backpack I left in the sports book.
What? You left that stuff here?
I'm an idiot. Somebody is really happy they got a brand new backpack and hoodie. I mean, it might be too small for them, but
let's talk about. So I had like a Westgate meeting this morning, not a SuperBook meeting, Westgate meeting, and I had to talk about.
So do you have to do double executive meetings? You do. You have to go to like every because you're an executive here and an executive there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to go to the SuperBook stuff and the Westgate stuff, and it just sort of alternates throughout my day.
Sounds like a great time.
But the question was, are you over the Super Bowl? And the answer is no. Are you? So I was thinking, are you over the game? I'm not over it at all. I'm still.
Am I? Are you asking me? Am I over the game?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
No. My landscaper was here this morning. I was outside showing him where I wanted to put in some new plants. And he's like, Cal, how was the Super Bowl? Like, I didn't see you last week. And I'm like, it fucking sucked. What do you mean? It was fucking terrible. I actually will say this. All my Vegas slander that has come out of my mouth since pretty much March of 2020 kind of subsided. I really enjoyed Vegas. And I know we talked about this on the last show. Got to go to some really good dinners, see some really good friends. So overall, my trip was wonderful. Sunday fucking sucked. And so, no, I'm not over it. Clearly, I'm getting pissed off and turning red for it.
Was it overall wonderful? Because, I mean, that game sucked. I don't know that it was. I call the overall week
8 days. The other 7.5 days were great. I actually laughed. So I was explaining to him, he goes, oh, you didn't win any money? And I go, well, I would have. Had I not bet the Chiefs team total under with John Murray on the show, I actually would have had an okay trip. I won a little bit of money at the blackjack table. We won the money on the slot machine. I hit a couple other really nice bets while I was there. But that I kept saying I don't love the game. I don't love the game. I loved over 3.5 field goals, and that was about it. I loved shortest touchdown. That was a loser. Heavy juice there. I loved the Patrick Mahomes passing yards under. That was great till it wasn't. But the Chiefs team total under with the 2 margaritas when we were sitting next to each other, that was probably my downfall. The 2 margaritas make you like add an extra 0, I swear.
My recap of Super Bowl 59 is I give it 2 thumbs, or 58, whatever the fuck. I gave it 2 thumbs down. I didn't like it.
That makes me think of when you used to call them the football, whatever the fucks.
Yeah, the Washington football, whatever's. One positive out of the trip. I get home from work last night. I got a box, and it was a present from Ariel Epstein, who sent me a thank you note for taking care of her. And then in Las Vegas. And then I thought to myself, where is my present from Kelly? So I
told you your present is my present to you is my presence here every single week for $0 American dollars. That is my present. Also, Ariel sent me a really nice bottle of wine that costs way more than your 2 bottles of Jameson.
I might have to return that present to sender. Thank you, Ariel. Not the present from Kelly. I mean, I'm keeping yours. I'll drink that. Do you want to talk about? It was kind of an interesting week, really. You know, we had that bet on Connecticut that our listeners voted for us.
Do we want to touch on that?
And then, well, yeah, I think we should, because so I bet it on Friday night after work. I bet plus 750, and then the next day they blow out Marquette, and then I didn't see this, but Sunday I was playing golf on Sunday, but I hear Purdue lost to Ohio State. So
crazy.
Then you wake up you wake up Monday morning and now UConn is like 9-2 because they won one game, which doesn't mean anything, and Purdue lost a game, which also really probably doesn't mean anything. And then UConn goes and gets their shit kicked in by Creighton in a game that, again, most likely means nothing. Somehow the market came down a ton across this week. I just think it's funny because I don't really think any of those games matter, really.
Well,
I mean, isn't Connecticut still going to be
seeding matters? There's still going to be a 1 seed. And
well, no,
looking at
I don't think
where they're going to be playing their games, they're going to be in the East Division, right?
But my point is that isn't that already settled? Aren't they going to be the 1 seed in the East and have their regional in Boston? I mean, is there anything that could possibly change that?
Lose the Big East tournament by like in the first round to some huge dog. No. Who? I mean,
yeah.
they are.
I
they're
think it was actually
pretty
a really
right now.
good thing for them.
I wanted a fun team, like a 20-1, 40-1, something awesome to root for. And our audience picked Connecticut. Chalk eating weasels. I mean, I guess you said Purdue when you walked to the casino was technically the favorite. It doesn't matter. Like, I wanted something with some sustenance.
Here's the thing where I don't really agree with you. I think UConn kind of was the perfect team because they, in theory, have a chance to go far, and then it gives us content to talk about on the show.
This is for content purposes, not to make money.
Well, I thought we did. Am I wrong here? I thought we did the Survivor contest for content.
No, I did it because I wanted to make money.
We were never going to. You thought we were going to win Survivor.
I thought we were going to put ourselves in a position to make some money.
We got offered money and you refused it.
Because it wasn't enough money.
All right. I thought we did it for content and hopefully Connecticut. I mean, if they're in Boston for the regional, unless there's a pretty significant upset, hopefully they'll make it to the Final Four, and then it's like a month's worth of content. I don't know.
Or a possible hedge opportunity to guarantee ourselves some money.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other half of our risk amount is going to be on this rollover. So it probably, I mean, do we just skip the first game? Like what are they going to be on the money line? Do you just not even play? Because it would be silly, I guess. What if they lost? You know, like, what if you bet like $500 to win $4?
What if they Virginia themselves?
So maybe you just don't even do that. Maybe you wait for round 2. Another good thing about the rollover as well, and we'll talk about this if it works for us, is you could always get to the Final Four or the regional final and say, I don't like this matchup, or maybe there's an injury to a Connecticut player, and you just take your cards off the table. You don't have to keep going. You could just stop and take your money at any point. So usually the rollover, it usually pays more money, which is the most important thing, but it also gives you a little bit more flexibility. You know, I mean, I'm sure at some point you've had a future bet where you wanted it to be over, didn't want to have it anymore. And in this case, you can just pull the plug whenever you want, if you want to.
Nope, never had one of those.
We probably won't do that.
Every single futures bet I've ever had, I wanted to cash. Every single one of them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I do think it is good content. And if Connecticut does go to the Final Four, we can show the steps that we're taking through the tournament. And maybe the first step, to your point, is we don't bet the first round game against the 16 seed. Maybe we just skip it, wait for the second round game where there'll be a smaller favorite. But that'll be something we'll talk about.
Okay.
Like I said, though, I think it's a good thing. Really, it was a good wake-up call for them to just get blown out by Creighton, because I'm sure they were reading their press clippings after the weekend. I even saw an article, I think on ESPN.com, about, like, would you rather have UConn versus the field? And it's like, whoa, hold on a second.
Are you guys going to put up any kind of bets like that for March Madness? Like, like Arizona, Purdue, UConn, whoever the other 1 seed ends up being. I don't even know if Arizona's going to be a
when
1 seed, but like
when the
you guys do
brackets get
that.
set, yeah, Ed Salmons will run that. But once the brackets are set, he'll do like, will a 1 seed win? Will a Big East team win? Will a 2 seed win? And he'll have yes/no prices on all those. Currently, Connecticut is 9-2. Purdue is 6-1. Arizona is 8-1. And we've got big liabilities on Purdue and on Arizona.
That's interesting. I wonder why you have such big liabilities on Purdue. Just because they're boat racing everybody except for Ohio State.
Purdue's in the same boat that Virginia was in 2019. Virginia lost as a 1 seed in 18. They come back in 19. They win the national championship the very next season.
Very good point.
Maybe there's some thought. But I don't think that Matt Painter is as good of a coach as Bennett.
You've said that a few times that you're not a Matt Painter fan.
I'm not a Matt Painter fan. I thought that a lot of that 116 loss was on him. I thought he made like no adjustments. He just sort of sat there. They somehow lost. I mean, you can't lose as a. And then I think it was. I might have this wrong because when you get old, like all the tournaments kind of run together. But wasn't it Purdue that lost in the Sweet 16 to like a 15 seed 2 years ago? Because remember, North Carolina.
Who lost to Florida Gulf Coast? That's the one that sticks out in my mind, the 15 seed. Yeah, it was Georgetown. It was your boys. Yeah, but those are the types of losses that stick out.
But Purdue was in the Sweet 16, I think, against a 15-seeded team that then ended up getting blown out by North Carolina in the regional final. So my point is he lost to a 15 seed, and then he lost to a 16 seed the next season. That is pretty bad, man.
Listen, it is. But we see it all the time in regular season college basketball.
No, we don't.
I mean,
we don't.
Yes, we do. We see double digits.
We don't
lose all the time now.
We don't see teams lose to a 15 seed and a 16 seed consecutive years all the time. That's never happened ever.
No, not like that. But I just mean, for example, Purdue was a double-digit favorite at Ohio State. The Big 12 this year, the SEC this year, there have been some really great home court advantages. And I don't think that we've seen people adjust those enough. I mean, Oklahoma State sucks in the Big 12, yet they just beat, top 25 or BYU. Oklahoma State's not any good. BYU is a good basketball program. I actually like them to possibly go, a few rounds in the tournament. But everybody's just giving them grief because they just lost to the worst team in the Big 12. Well, Stillwater's still a tough place to go in there and win. And I think that's the difference, though, is that those are away courts versus neutral courts once we get into March Madness.
I think the lines are catching up. I mean, you saw, I think it was Monday night, Houston was around a 9-point favorite at home against Iowa State.
I don't want to talk about it. I bet the overnight line, the closing line wins, I lose. Let's not talk about that, please.
I thought the two lines that I saw this week that clearly showed you who was going to win were the Houston one and the Creighton one. Why was UConn only -2.5 at Creighton? Well, I mean, you should know what to do next when you see a line like that.
I was all over Creighton, and that's why I yelled at everybody for picking UConn. I was like, we're already betting against this team. You seem to think it doesn't matter, though.
But that game, I don't think that game doesn't matter. I know it doesn't matter. Who did UConn play in the last week of February last season?
Probably another one of those Big East teams.
Yeah, exactly. You have no idea because it doesn't make any difference.
All right.
Touche. Regular season college basketball is, if you're one of the upper teams, if you're Connecticut or in this season Purdue, Houston, Arizona, it just doesn't really make a difference. Not really. It matters for the teams on the bubble. It matters to like a Gonzaga. But for the teams on the one line, what's the difference?
I think it's crazy to think that Gonzaga is on the bubble this year. Speaking of,
it is crazy because they've been so good for such a long time. That is crazy. Where's K-State? Where, like, are they
NIT,
safely
baby.
in the field? I don't know much.
No,
NIT?
they're gonna be in the NIT, like a 3 or 4 seed in the NIT, and that's probably where they deserve to be. I'm not saying they didn't have some nice wins. They had some really shitty losses, though, namely at Oklahoma State that I was just talking about. USC, who was supposed to be so good with LeBron James Jr., they're like almost dead last in the Pac-12. That now at Allegiant Stadium looks like a terrible loss, or was it at T-Mobile? I can't remember. Regardless, looks like a terrible loss.
It was a team. It was a team.
This team missing 2 of their best players, one due to the lovely university president's actions on, trying to have a big dick contest. And then Quest Glover, who was just supposed to be just an absolute stud of a point guard. He had knee surgery, thought he was going to be able to come back. It's just not. It's at this point, take the medical red shirt, I'm guessing. But, I might go try to see him in an NIT game. I care a lot about this program.
Are you not coming at her for March Madness?
I don't think so. I think I've gotten blessed to not have to come to Vegas for March Madness. Yeah, I'm kind of happy I don't have to. I'm going to be going to Mexico for one of my friend's birthdays at the end of March.
Sweet.
And then I'm going to Boston as soon as I get back from Mexico. So trying to go to Vegas I think it would have just killed me. I think I would have just not made it. Physically, just think about this. This is what sparked the whole debate last week that turned into a poll. Let me pull up the poll really quick. SuperBook Sports tweeted, what is the best time zone for watching sports? 12.9% of people picked Eastern. 41.4% of people picked Central. 24.8% Mountain. And 20.9% picked Pacific. Let me tell you why I hate the Pacific time zone, because I lived there for 15 years. If you go to bed early, if you are like a 9 p.m. go to bed person, Pacific's fine. The games are over. You can go to bed. You have nothing to do. If you are like me and you stay up late and you handicap at night.
What are you doing up so late? Like, what are you doing?
And then you have to be up. Okay, if NFL starts at 10 a.m. and you have to do an NFL show at 9 a.m. and you have to be at Caesar's Palace at 5 for hair and makeup. You're out of hair and makeup at 8:30. You do walkthrough at 8:45 and then the show's live at 9. By 9:45 in the morning, I was exhausted. Like
that's a very specific example. Okay.
No, but I'm just saying that was me going to bed at 9 o'clock. Now, when I worked the nightclub, I would get up, I would double check my bets at like 8:56, like 9:56, 8:56 if it was college in the morning, and fall back asleep, set an alarm to try to wake up around halftime and wake up for the next round of game. It is exhausting if you're a night owl. It is the worst.
That's also a very specific example because you're probably
no, it's not. If you are not going to, if you're not an old person, old people like Pacific time zone.
Bingo.
If you're not a drinker and you're not a night owl and you're an old person, you like Pacific time zone. Eastern, I was trying to make a case for, but I actually think they got it right. I think Central is probably the best time zone.
It's 12.9% of you are wrong. It's not Eastern. Eastern is the worst. The games.
I don't mind Eastern.
During the week, the games don't even start till 7 p.m. It's ridiculous.
Who cares? It doesn't matter when you go to bed at 1.
That's crazy. That like Eastern is by far the worst. I've never lived in the Central or the Mountain. The Central the Mountain sounds good. The Mountain sounds good.
I think it's still too early of a start.
Because then the games on a day like today would start at 5. Is that correct?
Well, the other thing is too, like if you're a brunch person, this was said in the comments. If you're a brunch person, Vegas is great because you just go start getting drunk at 9 a.m. for college football and eat brunch, and that's your brunch.
Yeah, pretty nice.
If you're a church person or you're a family person, Eastern is probably a good thing. You get up, you go to church, you don't miss anything. You come home, you have lunch with your family. Games start at 1 o'clock.
But how do you
mow the yard? You do all these things. Your wife's off your ass. In Vegas, your wife probably hates you.
But whenever we talk about this thing, the only thing you focus on is the weekend football. I'm talking year-round stuff.
And I'm talking the number one most bet, which is NFL.
Yeah,
The
but
number two most bet.
I could care less about the NFL. Who cares? The NFL is the worst.
You can care less. Okay, fine. You enjoy getting up at 5 a.m. to watch European soccer?
Liverpool had a 4:30 match on Saturday. It was a bit of a struggle.
Hell.
It was a struggle. It was a little early.
What? No. I don't want to get up when it's still dark outside.
Actually, Eastern is better for soccer. It's the one time where I'm glad to be on the East Coast because I can watch Champions League games like 2 o'clock or whatever, 2 or 3. No, I agree. How about this one, though, for another poll idea? Let's get Kelly's take. What's the best weekend to come to Vegas of the major college basketball weekends? Is it like the stereotypical opening weekend? Is it I like the weekend previous because you can go to the conference tournament games and it's not as crowded. And then there are some people that will tell you the best one is the regionals because there's less of a crowd.
My favorite day.
It's not the Final Four. It's not the Final Four.
No. Thursday and Friday are absolute chaos. You're like this at the SuperBook, like every head on a swivel all day long. Like it is video overload, light overload, trying to keep track of a million things going on. And you cannot. It is impossible. What I like is I think it's Saturday. When they're Saturday and Sunday, there's like 8 games.
Yeah, but I don't like the way they do the schedule now. They play like one game and then one game.
Yeah, it's great because then you can go to a Vegas pool party and you got the game on in your cabana, but you can also get some sunshine if you don't have any bets on that game.
I guess it's different from like the perspective of the people working, because to us it's like, let's just get on with this thing. Let's just.
Oh, you'd rather have them all at the same time?
No, not necessarily, but I'd rather there not be like what happens when inevitably they pick one game for the first time slot and the team gets up by like 28 points. And it's like now there's no energy in the room at all.
I think that's what happened with Baylor last year, if I remember correctly, or maybe that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago,
2 years ago was the last time I was in Vegas.
2 years ago, Baylor fell behind big against North Carolina. Baylor was the 1 seed. They fell behind big. North Carolina ended up making the Final Four that year. But Baylor did come back. They just couldn't get over the hump. They lost the game.
But the first Baylor game, they were so far ahead. I think I remember texting you and be like, why do we need this on 4 out of the 24 TVs? Like, just put them over in the corner.
You got too much access if you're texting me about something like that. Here's a East Coast, West Coast thing. Did you stay up on Saturday for UFC 298 in Anaheim?
No.
Yeah, because it was too late. I tweeted.
No, it's because I cannot watch people. I don't care if I'm in Vegas. Even during COVID, I could barely watch UFC and there was no other sports on. I don't like watching war movies. I don't like watching gory movies. I don't like watching violence before I go to bed because then I can't sleep. So I can't watch UFC, watch somebody just get bloodied, and then think that my body is going to allow myself to fall asleep. So no, I don't really watch it anyway.
So this is a classic Kelly moment. Last week on the show, before we started recording, I asked our producers how to pronounce the name of Topuria. I still don't know. Topuria. And then I said that we had sharp money on Topuria. We talked about it. And then before we recorded today's show, I asked the producer if he bet it, and Kelly was like, thanks for sharing that. And I was like,
okay, I am over here. I've got my note sheet for whatever the producer's saying to me. I've got the mailbag questions open. So I'm ready to go. And you're just like chit-chatting. It's going on in the background, like wah, 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 wah. So no, you didn't say, hey, our best UFC X bet X.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I'm going.
There was a mailbag question about it, and I don't think you even said it then.
Yes, I did. I know, but
maybe you gave it out. Maybe you gave it out on Nesson.
Oh, wow. You're not going to talk about the NBA All-Star Game. Did you watch any of that? Did people watch that?
So Chris and I bet Mac McClung to win it, and
Mac McClung played at Georgetown. He played at Georgetown.
Yeah. Now he plays like in just north of me here in some godforsaken town in Florida that has a G League team. And he still gets to be in the dunk contest though. Anyway, Chris was like, hey, this is who we bet in the dunk contest. So I bet it. So I had a reason to watch it. It was very juiced. That is not my nature, but we were at a bar. Him and his wife came down to visit. So we were at a bar and we watched the dunk contest. I'm sorry. I got a lot of traction on this tweet. I haven't watched the dunk contest since I don't know when. It was really boring. And it was the same thing. Like, let's jump over this tall guy.
Who won the 3-point thing?
No idea.
Yeah, I didn't watch.
Was it Halliburton?
I don't know.
I think maybe Ariel bet Halliburton. Anyway, she was like texting me and she was like mad about it. And I'm like, this is taking entirely too long. And then everybody bet Sabrina to beat Steph. Sabrina, why? I don't know.
Because she was a big plus. That's how people bet. She was a big plus. People don't want to lay. That's how people bet fights.
Yeah, but it's a woman. I don't care how good she is. And then she also was supposed to shoot, from what I read, she was supposed to shoot from the women's 3-point line and then didn't.
Do they use the same size basketball?
I don't know. I read that she was supposed to use the WNBA basketball, but I don't know because I didn't bet it. But I was like watching this and then everybody's going nuts on Twitter. And I'm like, wait, you guys actually bet her?
So that's how people bet fights too. Like, you don't want to lay 280 to win 100. You want to risk 100 to win 240. That's how people bet. I could, of course, we needed the Curry side. Not that there's a lot of money on that. And
then so you guys booked it as well. So it wasn't just like a Hard Rock thing down here. Okay.
And then the All-Star game, I didn't watch. I played golf on Sunday, then I fell asleep on my couch.
John Murray, the NBA product does not get any of my attention until April. I just don't care.
NBA regular season is not a good product.
Supposedly, this in-season tournament, a lot of people were chattering about it. It was better. I don't know if it was great, but it was better than just your regular games. But like, I'm sorry, Popovich ruined regular NBA season. Just ruined it. I'm convinced it's all his fault. He let everybody sit. Everybody's hurt. Like, somebody literally tweeted the other day, "Oh, LeBron's vagina's hurt again," and I'm just like, God, I'm so sick of this. Like,
I think
how can you not laugh at that tweet? Like, who knows what was actually wrong? He's got to be 40. That's what's wrong with him. His body probably hurts.
Well, he's more durable than a lot of these guys that are a lot younger than him. I mean, I know I think he did take off, or he's taking off tonight's game. They play Golden State. He's not playing, but
here's the thing. I don't mind from a handicapping perspective if someone's out. Mm-hmm. I just hate this. Someone's out. Someone's not out. Someone's not out. Someone's not out. They're in. And then 4 minutes before game time, you find out that it's the opposite. And you're like, what the fuck? And the line just shoots in the opposite direction. And you have a terrible number. That's why I just don't see, unless, like my buddy Hakeem regularly watches, regularly pays attention to the injury report, believes certain coaches, not others. Like, if I'm getting like an NBA play from him, a little bit different than me just trying to dip my toe in the water in February and try to guesstimate who's going to be playing that night.
I always laugh when the NBA players don't play because to me, I mean, not that I know much about it, but I'll see like so-and-so's out. And my first thought is, I'm not talking about LeBron James. It's like so-and-so's out. And my first thought is like, who gives a fuck? Who's that guy? And then I feel like
you mean like some like D-list guy that's going to get 12 minutes.
And then the market always overreacts to all these like Mickey Mouse players getting hurt. I'm a big believer that there's not that many players that affect the spread in the NFL in my mind. And maybe I don't.
Well, the NFL, the NBA, some of these even college basketball players, like I would say, like, for example, K-State has got like a lot of guys that I would say are all right across the board the same, which is why Coach was mixing in and out so many minutes this year, trying to figure out the right rotation. Those guys don't matter. And when everybody overreacts because it's a name that happens to be a little bit more prominent than name B,
you call Jerome Tang coach. That's what I call Jim Harbaugh. I call him coach.
Sure.
I like Jim Harbaugh.
Are you on a first name basis with Jim Harbaugh?
No way. That's why I call him coach. It's a sign of respect. I would never call him Jim.
I would never call Coach Tang Jerome.
Coach Harbaugh.
But it's funny because I call his assistants by their first names.
You really are a big fan. Let's do. So we already
talked about them. I told you that I did not give after John Curry pushed Frank Martin out to South Carolina. I stopped giving a fuck about basketball at Kansas State University.
Guys
And then
went
I
to the
tried
Elite
to
Eight
care
last
with
season.
Bruce Weber. I cared for like this much amount of time with Bruce Weber, and I tried to, and I just couldn't get into it. And these guys just completely rejuvenated my fandom. So
I was gonna say, you guys went to
I
the
love
Elite
them.
Eight last year. Georgetown goes like 2-50 in the Big. Not even 2, like 1-50 in the Big East. You're lucky. You're lucky you're in the Elite Eight. So we already talked about the time zone thing. It's not Eastern. I could see it being. I can live with Central. I can live with that vote.
I think Central's probably right.
We don't need to talk about the college basketball future bet anymore. That's done. Do you want to go to the bag? See what these
We
people
can go
ask.
to the bag. I think that there's a few extra questions that the producer's supposed to drop in the chat.
Boy.
Well, because so it was kind of my fault. We didn't get a lot of questions this week because I forgot to retweet it.
Hey, you know what?
I didn't even remember today was Thursday, for what it's worth.
Your name came up. We had our Westgate marketing meeting, and your name came up because of the views we got on the Two Beers show that you and I did.
Oh, that was great. I was hammered.
And then Jay Cornegay, we were walking out of the meeting. He's like, he kind of mutters to me like, well, I bet if I was on it with Kelly, it would get a lot of views. And I was like, well, yeah, obviously, Jay. I'm not saying it was because of me. It was funny because Cammy was happy with the viewership that we got when she and I did it, which was a lot. And then your name came up.
I feel like my slot machine video got like a ridiculous amount of views as well.
Oh, sure. But anyways, this is my long way of telling you, you're gonna have to do a show with Jay because we bruised his ego.
Deal. I will do a show with Jay because Jay and I actually did a show together before you and I ever did a show together. Fun fact.
Good. Well, there you go. Maybe do one with Cammy, and you can break X.
Ooh,
you and Cammy.
I like that.
Together.
This is an interesting question because of what a fuckery it was because of the weather down here last weekend. Vince and PGH on X says, how did the book do on the Daytona 500 and what kind of action does the book get on NASCAR?
Is this question designed to aggravate me? Is that?
Yes, because, so here, what's the house rule? Because it got rained out, did people have to rebet?
I don't know. So Ed
you don't know your own house rules?
Ed Salmon spends 99% of his time on auto racing. So
he does not. I thought he was too busy booking Philly bets.
95% of his time. So anything auto racing is just he's doing that because I don't give a shit about it. I don't know what
really.
The
I feel like those are like your people, JM, like the NASCAR crowd.
True. I would imagine
Virginians.
I would imagine it's the event rule. 8 days for action must be played with. I would imagine that. I don't know. Ed does the NASCAR. We had action on the race. It only got.
I need somebody to clip this. John Murray does not know the rules at his own book
of
on NASCAR.
Listen to the whole clip. I don't pay any attention to NASCAR. I think it's idiotic. I think we waste just days.
Because they drive around in a circle 500 times.
No. I'm talking about the amount of time we spend talking about it. Is just idiotic. And I would never watch a Daytona or a Talladega race because they're restrictor plate races.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So they're not. It's just the whole thing.
I forgot about the restrictor plates.
I know that much about it. We did well on it though, so kudos to Ed. I don't know who won, but we won. So
wait,
kudos.
I think I just screwed that up. It's not 500 laps, it's 500 miles, which I don't know how many laps that is. I guess it depends on how big the track is.
But we did win. How much kind of action do we get on it? We'll get some action on the Vegas race. So they do the Pennzoil 400. That's like fun. Maybe the first weekend of March, I believe.
Yeah, it's coming up soon.
And then they do one in September. And then there's a couple races throughout the year. Like, what's the one? Memorial Day weekends, the Coca-Cola 600. There's a few. We do. It's a fine sport. It takes up a lot of our time.
Oh, okay.
That's why. And there's a lot of messages about it. Like there's a lot of like texting about it, and I'm just like, who cares?
And group chats.
Who cares? Yeah.
Danny K 731 on X says, with all the discussion about responsible gaming and educating gamblers, do we think we get to the point where books have to post things like theoretical hold percentage, similar to fast food chains posting calorie counts? I don't think the average bettor knows how bad parlays are for them.
I think people know. I mean, I see numbers published all the time, like what the book holds on parlays versus straight bets.
Some of those hold percentages from books during Super Bowl were kind of crazy.
But you know, a lot of the hold percentage numbers that you see out there are phony, because the books give customers promotional dollars to bet with. So it's like, hey, look, here's our hold percentage of money we gave you. So
yes,
it's kind of BS.
No, you don't say. They're BSing us. Ooh.
No, I didn't say, I'm just saying that they're not really.
I mean,
well, you know that I spend all day watching CNBC, right? I'm always watching the financial news. I see the.
No, I have never seen CNBC on when I've walked into your office. Never once.
Because you come in at night when the market's closed. We used to do our show at like 5 p.m. The market was closed.
Okay. Whatever you say.
So the market is open at 8 o'clock Eastern when we did our show. Okay. Next question.
The Cyclone Drew on X says, this is all in good fun, but can John give us any insight as to why Kelly continues to bet against Iowa State in basketball? I am 0-5 against the spread this year with the Iowa State Cyclones.
Kelly doesn't really learn lessons at the Cyclone Drew. I don't know. Are there any lessons to be learned? There's lessons to be learned for others, but not for her.
I mean, we're talking about a 5-game sample size. I am not 0-5 on or against any other teams this year, though.
I thought Houston was going to run them out of the building when I saw that line. Like,
yeah, that's what they were supposed to do. And then they fouled down the stretch, and then they fouled some more.
Is that what happened? Yeah. When I saw that line, I was like, oh, shit, Houston's going to win by 20 points.
Yeah. That's what they're supposed to. And New Mexico was supposed to do it last night.
That was a good game. New Mexico, Colorado State, that was a good game.
No, I went to bed after it was 15-3. And I was like, fuck this. I'm going to bed.
You went to bed because it was too late on the East Coast to watch the game. I watched the whole game. I went to bed.
I can watch the game if I want to, but I saw the writing on the wall because then it was like 22-15 and New Mexico hadn't scored in 6 minutes. Wise Guy Wager on X says, other than people that are employed by the companies you represent, which sports bettor, originator, or handicapper do each of you have the most respect for? Just one name each, please. Thanks. Looking forward to hearing your answers and have a great show.
Tough question. Ooh. I don't know. I'll let you go because I don't want
Billy Walters.
Well, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, you know.
Oh well,
so
everybody's feelings are going to get hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
And a lot of people act like they're originators when they're not.
Well, Billy Walters is a pretty safe answer.
That's why I picked him, even though I didn't have like anything actually churning in my brain as a secondary answer.
I'll tell you a guy who I've never met anyone in the industry who doesn't respect Roxy.
Yeah.
I've never met.
Nice guy.
I've never met anybody that doesn't respect him. So I'll go with him. But Billy is a very good answer too.
Yeah, both good answers.
And I've never heard anybody that doesn't respect Billy. I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying that Roxy's a guy. Everybody likes him. Everybody respects him.
I would agree with that. There is a lot of, look at me. Let me tell you how smart I am. If somebody has to behave that way, probably not.
Do you think that you are one of the people on Sports Gambling X that takes herself very seriously, or do you think you're somebody that is just living your life?
I absolutely put in a ton of hard work. I utilize every resource that I have at my disposal, and I spend a lot of time handicapping games. Now, I've never claimed to be an originator, but think that I'm not going to have the same bets as the guys in my circle that I talk to every single day is a little bit ridiculous. Yesterday, some guy goes,
why didn't you follow my NFL picks to see? I mean, I'll never do that well again.
I was on some of them already, and the other ones I did follow. What are you talking about?
But then why did you do so poorly?
Because so here's what you don't realize is you can absolutely have another season like that because I had one in 2017. I had one in 2018. I had one in 2021. It is very feasible if you're just picking one game a week and just
15-3 in 4 different seasons across 18 picks.
I went 12-5 my first year at
Very good.
Bleacher Report.
Very
On my
good.
best
Very
bets
good.
on the 17-week show. Then we went to 18 weeks. I went 13-5. Then I would have to look at what I did during the COVID year, which was just an abomination. I barely bet anything because it was such a clustered mess. Then in 2021, I went on a hell of a run. I think I was 15-3. And my best bets, I'd have to check with Pam. I don't really like try to like gloat on those 18 game sample sizes, but this year I did not. I went 9-9 on my best bets. It was terrible.
Maybe
and so then I wasn't confident in my best bets. So then I was adding additional bets, and those weren't any good either.
Maybe I will just do it again next year because you know what I
think you will.
You know what I did this week? I did my taxes and I had to pay, I had to enter in the numbers for the money I got from the Circa Millions contest, which I got that money in January of 23. So I did it on my taxes this year.
Yeah.
So maybe I will just do it again. I don't know.
I think you should.
Do you have any more mailbag questions?
I got no more mailbag questions.
Okay. So
I'm sorry you your taxes. I will be doing mine in October at this rate. I'm going to go ahead and ask for one of those little extension things.
Oh, man.
And, maybe by then I'll go on a little hot streak. I thought the hot streak started with the 4-0 on Tuesday night, and then I followed it up with a 1-3 last night.
I'm off to Mexico City for UFC, the Mexico City UFC on Saturday night.
You don't know what the UFC number is?
It's not a numbered one. So they only number the pay-per-views. So like UFC 299 is in Miami on March 9th. Sean O'Malley, Chito Vera is the main event. And then UFC 300 is here in April. This is not a numbered one because I think it's got like UFC Fight Night, and then there's a number after that. But it's not like UFC 298, 299, 300.
But it's not UFC Mexico City 1.
It might be something like that. I've been to a lot of UFCs. I've never been to one outside of the United States. So that'll be pretty cool.
Be nuts. I've heard that sporting events in Mexico City are awesome. And I was supposed to get to go to the Kansas City, Las Vegas Raiders game in Mexico City. And well, we know what happened there.
We do. So we bet me and our producer, Johnny Hoagland, a.k.a. The Unit. We bet on Brian Ortega, a.k.a. T-City. But my main concern for that fight, 5-round co-main event, I just don't want either of those guys to get hurt. We got 2 more days. I just want the fight to happen. Hopefully I win my bet, obviously.
Get hurt?
Well, these guys pull out of fights, and it sucks if you have tickets to a UFC, and then at the last minute it's like,
you're afraid to get hurt like in practice.
Well, no, it's more like they missed weight.
Oh, missed weight, yeah.
And then they're not going to fight. Like they hurt themselves cutting down to these weights. I mean, you're going all the way to Mexico City. I hope I win my bet, but just let them fight each other. And I'll see you next week, kid.
Sounds great.